Hey everybody, this is David at Homestead Hacks and Hens. Chickens are very vocal this morning, and they're digging up everything. Now this is one thing that you may have problems with and issues with when it comes to chickens, is they're good for foraging, they're good for digging up stuff where they're supposed to. But what happens when they get into an area you don't want them to dig? You got flower beds out, you got your garden. There are just certain things you got to do when it comes to raising chickens, and things you got to be prepared for and know what to do when it happens. A fine example, when you first till the garden up, our garden is right there, and it won't be long before it needs taken care of and tilled. And as soon as those chickens see fresh dirt, I guarantee you, just about every chicken I have is going to be in that garden digging. And that can be an issue when you start putting your plants out there. Not so much with seed, and usually after a first rain, they tend to go away because the soil's not appealing anymore, because it's not fluffed up as much. And after you get that first rain settles down, they don't seem to be more as inclined to go back then. But I'm going to show you a couple things that you can do to keep them out of your flower beds. And let me show you. For years, we've tried to grow things around, well, whether it's around, and some people may think it's corny, you know, putting little flower beds around poles and stuff, but we've always done that around trees. And a lot of these rocks that we put around, what we do, we put rock border around it, filled up with soil, and plant things in there, you know, whether it be flowers or whatever. And it wouldn't be 10 minutes, and those chickens would be in there tearing out every flower, destroying the whole bed instantly, because they love that fresh, loose looking soil. So what I found out, and this works very well, and of course it takes more rocks to do this. So what we do, plant your plants, and then around them, whether it's bulbs, these are daffodils here. We always call these Easter lilies growing up, but they're daffodils. And put your plant in, whether it's bulbs, marigolds, whatever it is, and stack in rocks around it, or gravel, any kind of rock material. Chickens hate digging. If there's enough space in there for about the size of the chicken to get in, then they're going to get in there and try to dig it out. But if it's not big enough to get in there, even if it's half the chicken's size, it's hard for them to get in there and dig with their feet when they're digging into rocks, and they don't like that. So they won't go near something like this. Now look how they've dug right up to it, and then once they got to the bed, they quit. And these chickens are, this is going to be a challenge with this bunch of chickens here. And I don't know why, but these chickens here are extremely friendly. Extremely, they have no fear. Most of the chickens I've raised before have a fear, and these things, they just don't. And they're getting up on the porch, and I'm going to have to be creative to think how to get them out of there. Some kind of scare tactic or something, but I'll figure it out. Look here, watch this. What are you doing in there? What are you doing? See, that they have no fear. I've raised these things since babies, but even still raising them from babies, most of the time they have some kind of fear there. These are a black sex link. And one good thing I'll tell you about these here while we're making this video. If you want a chicken that's kind of hawk proof, not really hawk proof, but let's say hawk resistant. These things being black feathers, they resemble a crow. And And hawks hate crows, And a lot of times when they're in the air flying over, around, looking, they see this. They look down and they see black feathers. And not all the time, but most of the time, they avoid them because they think they're crows. Now, so far, we've only had one hawk attack that I know of, and I try to keep a close count on my chickens. And so far, it's worked, and I'll show you some other things later in another video that will help address the problems with predators. That will help you out tremendously. But just one tip from Homestead Hacks and Hens about the gravel and the rocks. It works very well. Another thing that you can put in there too, if you have like large ornaments, like there's an old frog, if you put them in the bed, they also got to work around that, and they don't like that as well. So anything that crowds the chicken out or makes like a something hard for them to dig against or pick at, I've not seen them in this bed. And it works. I mean, you know, it may be drastic measures, not drastic, you know, extra work, but if you're going to raise chickens and want to raise flowers, sometimes you got to do stuff like that because they're chickens and they're going to dig. And if you want them to free range, you just got to, some things you got to put up with, you know, just like trying to figure out this with them coming up on the porch. Because usually laying chickens, they tend to stay more close to the pen. They don't venture. This bunch here is different. This bunch of chickens here is completely different. They do things that I've not had to deal with much with other breeds. I've had black sex-link before, but they never come out this far and ventured. They was always more stay close to the pen, which is right down there. You see it just to the right of that white building there. That's the chicken house. Now the game chickens do. They'll come out and they'll venture, but usually these laying hens don't do that. These are a different mindset of chicken for sure. They're special. But anyway, just thought I'd make a tip from Homestead Hacks and Hens. Don't forget, click on the little bell, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Homestead Hacks and Hens.